Hey sports fans, this is Stephen Hill for JustMyPicks.com, and I'm bringing you a special NBA video this week. We have a lot of breaking news, but I wanted to bring you perhaps maybe the biggest story of the news week. This week, the Brooklyn Nets have made it official. They've signed their new head coach, who is Jason Kidd. 40-year-old Jason Kidd, who just retired less than 2 weeks ago, is now the official head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Really not surprising. The Brooklyn Nets needed a star as far as their coach. They missed out on Jeff Van Gundy. They also missed out on Phil Jackson, who declined the request. So it doesn't baffle me that they went for a person with a big name or a big attraction, being that they are in a new stadium, a new city, being that they left New Jersey, now they're in Brooklyn. They have a lot of new things to get acclimated to. With Jason Kidd being on this team, Jason Kidd has a solid relationship with Deron Williams, their point guard. He knows the game as a point guard, as we've seen over his illustrious career with the Knicks, Mavericks, a lot of teams. He has done a lot for the NBA. He basically is number 3 mostly in most of the stats, or number 2 in a lot of the stats all time. So from a player standpoint, Jason Kidd is a great NBA player. Well, he was a great NBA player. Moving to the head coach, the only thing that scares me, he doesn't have any coaching experience at all. Not as an assistant coach, not as full-time head coach, no kind of coach. So with that being said, I think that it could be successful, but Jason Kidd has to surround himself with positive former head coaches, also former assistant coaches that did well at other stops. I think that if he's able to surround himself with a good cast, he already has a playoff team set up for him to just take the reins and do what he has to do with it. PJ Carlesimo didn't really get the best out of the Nets last season. It looked like they gave up throughout parts of the season. Also, Deron Williams was injured throughout the season. But with a roster with Joe Johnson, Gerald Wallace, Brook Lopez, Deron Williams, Chris Humphries, you have a solid 5. You know, and with the addition of Andre Blanche, that gives you 6, because he came on late towards the end of the season. We saw him around the playoff time with the Chicago Bulls come around. They have Reggie Evans, who is a good rebounder, a good interior guy. But I think the Nets need to make a couple of moves to bolster their roster. They need to bring in some guys who can score the basketball, who don't need to have the ball in their hands in order to do damage. So you can always look at possibly going out and getting Jamal Crawford. You have a couple of good players in the draft if they want to trade up in the draft and try to do some things like that. But the Brooklyn Nets are in a good place. Even though they lost Jay-Z out of the ownership group, they still are in a place where they can take a step forward and possibly overtake the Knicks as the second best team, as we saw in the regular season. The Nets just have a lot of things they need to improve on, but I will say this. Jason Kidd was one of the greatest Nets players of all time, leading them to 2 NBA Finals back-to-back in 02 and 03. He really changed the game. He really brought the franchise back to some type of prominence, some type of glory, along with Kenyon Martin and Richard Jefferson, along in those glory years. The Nets right now, like I said, I like their roster. I want to know what you guys feel about this decision that the Nets made with the front office of their new owner and Billy King. Tell me what you think. You can check me out at JustMyPicks.com. You can also follow me on YouTube. Check out this video and all my other videos at YouTube.com/JustMyPicksTV. Also, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Follow me on Twitter at JustMyPicksTV. Same Twitter handle name. You can check me out. Thank you very much for your support. Please comment and please subscribe.